Greetings and salutations, Rene Box Young. Good morning to each and every one of you. I thank you guys so much for loving, showing the love, showing the support, subscribing, sharing, commenting, tuning in on lives. Yesterday, we had a fun live, man, talking about a little bit what we're going to talk about today, but I want to get, some input from the historian. Y'all know who it is, man. So, y'all saw I hope you guys saw the thumbnail. I just posted it yesterday. I just got in contact with Kurtis, man. I was like, man, I got to talk to somebody about this, Thankfully, I talked to you guys, the community, but I just wanted somebody on the panel now to talk about it more in depth. And obviously, we're going to talk about some other things. And I thank you guys so much for jumping in the building already, man. I thank you guys so much. And we're gonna chop it up, man. We're gonna chop up some box talk with the Kurtis Anderson, the historian. How you doing, Kurtis Anderson? How you doing this morning, man?
Oh man, I'm doing great, man, on this Thursday morning, man. Just getting up. I got boxing on my mind. I go to sleep talking about boxing. I wake up thinking about boxing, man. So it's just great to be on your show, man. You got a great show. Good morning, chat. What's going on with you guys? We could talk about some subject matter in the great sport of boxing.
Definitely, man. The beauty of this, and I guess we can say, it's a love-hate relationship to a certain extent, I guess, as far as with me, with the sport of boxing. Why love-hate? Because, just as a mini introduction here, it's because, I get fed up sometimes with the whole politics going back and forth, which we're going to talk about a little bit today. The whole going back and forth between fighters, when the heck are they, gonna start signing contracts and fighting, what I'm saying? A big buildup sometimes. Sometimes it takes long before we see fights, but at the same time, I love it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a love-hate relationship for me, man. Just to check 1, 2, the mic I didn't check before. Kurtis, am I clear?
All clear.
Perfect. Just in case it cuts off, and for those who are tuning in, you know what I'm saying? Just in case my signal cuts off on the internet, I'll be right back in a few seconds. You know what I mean? Sometimes it cuts off and I have a little way of getting back on quick. So, Kurtis will take over just for the few seconds. I might be out just in case the internet cuts off for any reason. Okay, so let's get to it, man. Let's talk about it. I talked about it yesterday on the live. Everybody's hollering about it. Everybody's dissecting it. I'm not the type of person to get into the legalities, the technicalities of legal issues, because that's just not my area. I study other things, what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, I'm studying a degree, so, but it's not in that area. So, that's not my field, man. Heck no. When it comes to, law and, breaking down lawsuits and filing cases or what have you, right? But we see it going on, and it's important to a certain extent to understand what's going on and the possible ramifications and consequences of what's going on with Canelo Alvarez. Why? Because, it relates to the sport of boxing. And, I talked about it yesterday. I called the live session Hope for Canelo, Hope for Canelo, like in a question mark, like questioning it, because I personally looked at it as an optimistic, thing, because, as we know, Canelo has received a lot of criticism in his zone. I'm not the type of person, as people know, if there are any new viewers today that would be jumping on in, I'm not the type of person to criticize, promotional companies. Lawrence Williams, what's good, bro? Much love to you, brother. Thank you so much for tuning in, man. Love you, man. Thank you, Lawrence Williams. I'm not the type of person to not promotional companies, what I'm saying? Top Rank, PBC, DAZN, but I do criticize, certain promotional companies or whoever, what have you, when they're not, satisfying the community, the fans, what we want, what I'm saying? Kurtis Anderson, first and foremost, what was your first impression, man, when DAZN came to the market in the Americas?
Well, they did it all wrong. Eddie Hearn tried to challenge America and the boxing world of America, and you don't do that because America is still the #1 media market. When you see great foreign fighters like Manny Pacquiao, and fighters from England and Tyson Fury, they have to come over here to prove themselves and to build their fan base. DAZN, if they would have hitched a ride on the right wagon in America, they will be a bonanza, because I like DAZN. I have subscribed to the DAZN. I did the yearly subscription. They have good boxing cards. I can't miss it. But, Eddie Hearn tried to challenge America. It was sort of like a takeover, and he should have been shaking hands instead of kicking people where he thought they was down. He tried to challenge Al Heyman specifically, and Al is still there, because he has a network deal. I don't like the politics, but we do have to talk about it. And the zone could have been 10 times better off. It would have been a bonanza. Commercials would have been shown in America, even though they had commercials, but it was far and few between. But it would have been marketed correctly. They would have took off as a company. They're losing money, every day. They're getting pissed off at Eddie Hearn. So he did it wrong. You have NFL football, college football. The first day they showed the card, they was going against the UFC card, Notre Dame football, and you don't do that. He didn't really understand how America works, and you have to understand how these things work over here, man. In America, there's multiple sports. There's over 300 million people, man, and if it was marketed correctly, then it would have been a bonanza. But it's not, because it's not really an American thing. Americans didn't really take to it. I mean, it's shown in foreign countries, but it could have been a lot bigger, if you would have made the right moves.
Man, you said, I said the exact same thing yesterday, just in a different way. I was saying that, Eddie Hearn screwed it up just right when when his foot touched when his feet touched American soil when he came here. He just did it the wrong way. I mean, had he rubbed shoulders the right way, with his fellow, even though they're rivals, I guess you can say, Al Heyman, Bob Arum, had he been, made a healthy professional relationship between them, man, it would exactly. I said the same thing actually, man. It would have been booming. DAZN would have been just amazing, and they could have even done something along the lines of, had he done that, he could have done something. They could have done something along the lines of, okay, we're gonna throw pay-per-view fights between, with fighters from different promotional companies. For example, DAZN, Haney is gonna fight Tank Davis. Okay, we're gonna throw it in pay-per-view. Bam, you know what I'm saying? Or et cetera, fighters, in DAZN, and they're gonna fight somebody in Top Rank. That's a big fight. Throw it on pay-per-view, and at the same time, they can work their way around the app and doing it, just do it a different way, man. I mean, it would have been amazing. It would have been amazing, and so it is what it is, man. So when it comes from now, Kurtis, did you? That's a question I had before we get to the whole Canelo issue. Did you think that DAZN, when you saw the beginnings, the birth of DAZN, we already know, but DAZN has been around for a while. But as far as here in the Americas, in the Western Hemisphere, did you think or predict or see any type of downfall of DAZN? Because other platforms have been. Were you one of them, like thinking about that?
Early on, when they didn't hitch a ride to the right wagon, and he wasn't producing the great fights, or signing certain fighters, then I knew, Canelo, it was a good signing. More on that later. There's a caveat with that, but he had Garcia and Vargas. Those fights not good enough. Andrade, and he had too many fights on one card. That people didn't know. People get turned off when it comes to boxing. People get very impatient. You got to have top-notch fights. On network TV or an app, especially an app. He didn't produce enough fighters so people can be interested. You had some good fighters because we're hardcore boxing fans like Regis Prograis and Josh Taylor, but like I said, it's not network TV. It's the app. I done seen many fighters grow up and become popular on network TV, like Ray Boom Boom Mancini, and there was a fighter named Terrence Ali. A lot of people never heard of this guy, but we know who he was because he fought on network TV. You had fighters like Rockin' Robin Blake and Tyrone Crawley. Now, you may not know these names, because it was a different era, but we did. Mm-hmm. We called them great TV fighters. Like back in the day in the 50s, you had Gillette's Friday Night Fights, and they might have not been a star, but people in the neighborhood say so-and-so's fighting tonight on Friday Night Fights or Tuesday Night Fights. So, that's network TV, but the app where you got to pay monthly, people want you to have a good product, or if they're not going to pay for it. And not only DAZN, but even PBC, you cannot have fights like Sean Porter versus Formella and
Right.
Lara versus Vendetti,
Exactly.
and Ugas versus Abel Ramos. People's just not going to watch. They have the Nielsen ratings. They get breaking down by time. Like there'd be like the first 3 rounds, 17% of people saw the fight. Then after the third round, 12% people saw the fight, because they can tell how many people was tuned off or turned off by the matchup, and plus they didn't know the fighter.
Wow. Now, I didn't, and I remember, I think I do remember, yeah, when Kurtis was on, you were on a show some time ago. This was a while ago, man. There's so many platforms, and you have been on several of them. I think I do remember you even predicting a time approximately around 1.5 years, 2 years, and that was like precisely the time that we're in now. I mean, you pretty much hit it, man. I think you did. I think it was you, if I'm not mistaken. And it was hard for me to believe, because I'm not the type of, because I have been optimistic about it to a certain extent. I try to be optimistic, even though, sometimes I think I'm naive, you know what I'm saying? But when it came to Hearn, I've said it on my channel, I made videos about it, thinking, about the American takeover, quote unquote, making videos about it and saying, you know what, maybe it will go all right. Maybe DAZN will take over. Maybe. I always had a maybe in there, right? But then again, I always emphasized his arrogance, you know what I'm saying? Always emphasized that pride. I mean, it's not going to work out like that, in the business world, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, maybe in the UK and he has his ways of doing things, that's fine with him. But, as far as here, and I was always optimistic and thinking, maybe it will, but time has proven otherwise, otherwise, you know what I'm saying? So let's get to the chat real quick, and then we're going to get down to the nitty gritty of what's going on. Christopher Jernett, man, thank you so much for tuning in, man. Much love to you, man. Lawrence Williams, again, G5, thank you. So, hey, G5, I'm going to get at you soon. You already know, bro. I'm going to get at you soon, all right, G5? Christopher Jernett, there's saluting Zeno. Hey, thanks for the invitation on Facebook, bro. I saw you yesterday. Thank you so much, Zeno. Thank you so much, man. It's an open house. You already know. Terrence Ali used to sprint at his opponent, at the opening bell. Wow. That's intense stuff right there, man. Definitely intense, man. So, let's get to it, man. Excuse me. So let's get to it, man. Canelo, everybody knows the story. I mean, it's not necessary to repeat so much, the same thing. Now, what? I mean, there are so many things as far as the consequences. I'm focusing more. I look more into the future as far as, excuse me. We already know it's going to be a lawsuit. We don't even know if it's going to go to court yet. Maybe there can be a little, under the table settlement, private settlement between DAZN, Oscar De La Hoya, and Canelo. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there can be something like that before it even hits the court, or they'll have to go to court. And we already know that, lawsuits take a long time. Like this, of this magnitude, it take a while, man. So, there are, if this goes down, what do you think, Kurtis? Do you think that Canelo's going to stay on DAZN, man, after this whole fiasco and with Golden Boy?
Wow, that's a tough one, man, because it's been some friction from site for quite some time now. I know people on the inside, man. I talked to a lot of people that I just can't say their names, and it's not a surprise that I saw this coming, And I'm gonna tell you the origins. Canelo was stolen from promoted Miami. He was stolen. He wasn't always on Golden Boy. Oscar was smart because Oscar wanted a guy who can fight and he can market. Canelo is a very unique looking fighter of Mexican descent, and he could fight his butt off, man. I always thought Canelo was going to turn out to be a terrific fighter because I seen him early on and I knew there was something different about this guy. See, Oscar thought he had a Canelo and Victor Ortiz, but see, with Victor Ortiz, it didn't work out. So Oscar was, looking, and when Victor Ortiz kept getting knocked out, he found Canelo. He found a diamond in the rough, and he developed Canelo. He wanted him to be this matinee idol, this James Dean, David Cassidy of boxing type of guy, and that's not Canelo. He's going along with it, but he's not happy. Look at his face sometimes. He's not happy.
Yeah.
He just wants to be a fighter. Canelo's what you call a born fighter, man. He was born to fight. He loves fighting, and he's not scared of anybody. People say Charlo beat him, and Charlo, got Canelo scared. I don't happen to be of that ilk. He's not afraid of nobody.
Right.
Trust and believe me when I say that. Canelo has a lot of moxie, man, and a lot of savvy. He's a damn good fighter. I got a number 3 in my pound for pound. And people said better be even Charlo, but I don't believe that they could beat him. That's how much I think about Canelo. That's how much I think about him. People may disagree, because I see weakness in certain fighters, but getting back to the business side of it, Canelo goes along with it. Remember, Oscar didn't want him to fight Lara. It's Oscar that's staying him away from certain fighters because of the style. Canelo does have a weakness. If you could move and use footwork and use the ring, then it throws his whole game off. That's why the Lara fight was so close. But he talked Oscar into that fight. Because Lara was calling him out and people were saying, you were scared. But when you have a precious commodity like Canelo, the more you fight and the more money you get, the more your investment. So Oscar is trying to protect his investment by fighting the Rocky Fieldings and the Yildirims, and it's an embarrassment to Canelo. We don't want to see those fights and getting titles, moving up and down like Henry Armstrong did back in the day. We want to see him fight the Charlos, the Better Beeves, anybody that's tough. Callum Smith, and he'll destroy Callum Smith, but that's what we're going to see, and he wants to challenge himself. You see how well he shook the Mayweather loss off. He was like, oh well, I learned a lot. Today I just, he was just too good. I wasn't ready, or something like that. Fighters always make excuses to conquer their psyche. To believe that I just had an off night and the fighter was better than me, but. It's mainly Oscar, and if he doesn't do something, immediately he's going to lose Canelo, because he will win. He signed a contract. I don't know what the stipulations are in the contract. It could be like a telephone, money like that. 365 is like a telephone thick book contract. I bet you. If he has certain stipulations where no matter who he fights, I still get the same money, but then there could be stipulation with Golden Boy or DAZN where he said you must fight certain premium fighters, meaning top-notch fighters, and I don't know. It's a mess right now, and something will come out to let us know which way it's going to lean, towards Canelo's way, or they worked it out. Remember, Garcia feels the same way. Oscar wants matinee idols, and they just want to fight.
Man, so true. Now, this is I said this yesterday, just thinking, to myself, it's not that I trust everything that people say, but like with Canelo, for example, yesterday he said, or just recently with this whole lawsuit stuff, he said what you said, man. He said, I'm not scared of anybody. I'll fight anybody, and I see that in Oscar. I was saying yesterday, you know what? And I said, you know what? I think with the whole or most of the trajectory of Canelo and boxing under Oscar De La Hoya, I think Oscar's been protecting him, man. I think Oscar, and because he's his boss. I mean, we got to face reality here. He's his boss, and maybe Canelo's team are the ones who are dictating who he should fight, not necessarily who Canelo really wants to fight, So he's under, he's working for Oscar. I mean, it is what it is. So Curtis, kind of getting back to what you were saying a moment ago, that, so do you think, like what you mentioned with Lada and stuff like that, right? It looks like Canelo was the one who wanted to really fight him, and Oscar probably didn't want him to. So do you think that's what's really going on as far as Canelo's trajectory and the opponents that we don't want to see him fight? Is that Oscar or the team up, the higher ups are dictating the fighters for Canelo?
It's all Oscar, man, because he has an investment to protect. He feels if Canelo lose a fight, the more you lose, the less your fighter will be, and the less valuable your investment will be. That's how he feels. So I really think it's Oscar. It has nothing to do with Canelo. The Reynosos are good trainers. Canelo is a damn good fighter. They just want to fight. They want Oscar out the way, because it's going to come to a point where it's going to implode this whole thing. And Oscar's not going to have a fighter. The litigations. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what's in the contract. He wants to sue them for $280 million. You hear these things about Canelo and De La Hoya. Bad blood, and then you don't hear anything, and then you hear something that comes back up a year later. There's only so much you could take, and I don't know. Canelo's getting fed up, man. I try to read his body language, man. He's there for business reasons. Oscar probably say, "Look, I got a plan for you. I got you the $365 million deal. That's great, but just let me fight." Who knows what goes on in the back room, man? They could be arguing like cats and dogs. It was one time that the relationship was cordial, but I don't think they talk a lot. I really don't think so, man. And when you have that much money invested, man, there's always going to be problems, man. Like they said, money is the root of all evil. And Oscar be like, "Look, Canelo, man, Saul, we got a lot of money invested in this thing. You can't, let me guide your career." It's like a music artist who wants to make certain type of records, and the team around them and the record company was like, "No, we want you to put out this." It's the same thing, so they're trying to control him, and it's not working.
I totally agree, man. I said that yesterday, even though it sounds like it might not be the case. I think that, man, it's just that the fighters that he's been getting are not necessarily Canelo's choice, even though he has been saying things, maybe publicly. It's because I think that his higher ups are dictating what he should, maybe say and who he should fight, man. That's how I see it. I definitely agree. And thank you guys so much. Hey, thank you for the shouts out. Black Star, thank you so much for tuning in, bro. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. You're welcome. You already know what it is right here. Thank you for congratulating my birthday, but it was in August 28th, but thanks anyway, man. As a matter of fact, I think I mentioned it to the panel at Boxing Land, and now Kurtis Anderson, Stormer B, and Reggie Owens. This was a couple weeks ago. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, we did a show. I think it was like one day after my birthday or something like that. So yeah, man, definitely. Thank you guys so much, man. Thank you guys so much. So yeah, that's what I think, man. I think that and you're totally right. You can tell that Canelo's not happy. He's not happy, and he's been at an odds with Oscar for a while now, way before this lawsuit. And from what I heard and from what I know and from what I think is that he has just been in communication with Oscar lately for the past year or so through his lawyers. Through his lawyers. So I mean, you can just tell, man. So I personally think he might leave DAZN. I think he's going to leave DAZN and Golden Boy soon, man. I think he's just going to go off and ride with the wind. Interesting thing here that let me just go real quick here as far as Zeno. Okay, Zeno said something about the case and stuff like. No, it is definitely going to court. Unless Oscar De La Hoya pays Canelo, because DAZN ain't really to blame that much in this situation. Oscar made deals, yeah, on Canelo's behalf behind Canelo's back, and just like what Kurtis said a moment ago, that I don't like politics in this thing. I don't really like it. And I want to get to that in a moment. And the next point, after this, that, and just like what Kurtis said, we don't know what goes behind closed doors. We're not there, you know what I'm saying? But, like Kurtis said, some people know other people, he knows people on the inside. Other people know people on the inside. There are sources who do say things, you know what I'm saying? So we have an idea, but we're not literally there behind closed doors, listening to everything, seeing what's going on, listening to negotiations, seeing how they do things. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, Oscar's the one, man. I mean, it seems like, when you boil it down, it looks like Oscar's the one who has, a big issue here. And I mean, is the one, maybe the root of the whole issue. So, man, this is crazy stuff. So I personally don't think, Canelo is going to stay with Golden Boy for much longer, man. I just think that's how it's going to happen. and much less the zone, right? I think he's going to go off as an independent agent. JC, salute, man. I see you, bro. Thanks so much for tuning in, bro. Thanks so much, man. Love you, man. I don't think he's gonna, I think he's gonna go on as a personal, as an independent agent, and hopefully we'll get them fights out there. That's the hope I have. You know what I'm saying? That's the hope I have that, and do you think, because the word's going around, Kurtis, do you think this can bankrupt Oscar, this whole lawsuit, man?
Yeah, it can. He has to be very careful. He has only Canelo as the superstar, and Garcia is an unproven hot commodity, but he can be a star if you move him the right way. If he keeps winning and beat the high-profile fighters, he already have the matinee looks, so Oscar is banking on that, but Garcia wants to fight as well. Oscar is just blocking these guys, and him and Garcia had it out a few times. He's big on social media. I understand the business. When you get those blue chip guys, that's pretty boys like a Sugar Ray Leonard, and even Sugar Ray Robinson was considered a pretty fighter. That's the terminology I'm using. A pretty fighter. Right. The back in the day, the fighters had the waves in their hair and the conch in their hair. They were pretty, and if you could fight, then it doesn't matter. But Oscar is using it as a tool. He wants them to be TV stars, and it's a problem because they just want to be fighters, man. Oscar should get out the way. They're trying to use. He's trying to use the model he came up under and apply it to Canelo and Ryan Garcia. Oscar fought a guy that, I remember it was like 80% of women in the audience and stuff, and they were screaming. It was more like a concert than a fight, and that's the way he want to go, right. But Oscar can fight, and Oscar should know better because he fought a lot of great fighters, so he should know. That's the weird thing about it. Get out the way, let him fight the best fighters that's available. And even though Oscar lost a lot of big fights, but he fought the Whitakers, the Mayweathers, the Mosleys, the Hopkins, the Trinidads. He fought everybody. So let Canelo and Ryan Garcia do the same thing. And if they win and they keep winning, then it shouldn't be a problem, because the way boxing is, when people notice when you start beating good opponents, and they get behind you and they be like, holy man, this guy can fight. And then they get behind you, and then you have what you call a machine. A machine is you have all the momentum in the world. You got a great team. Everything works out for you, and you become a superstar, the face of boxing, and you go on from there. That's what happened with Sugar Ray Leonard. He was fighting good fighters on TV. He was building momentum and stuff. He came out the Olympics, so he had a built-in fan base. And Canelo has a built-in fan base, being a Mexican fighter, fighting in Las Vegas and, fighting on the West Coast. And, he fought with a Houston Astros played at with Kirkland, and he draws a lot of people. So he doesn't really need a promoter. People like Manny Pacquiao years ago should have done that. He doesn't need a promoter. Neither does Canelo. Canelo should have went independent long time ago because of the built-in fan base. He doesn't need anybody. His name can promote the fight.
Everything is like, this is, I think, one of the reasons why, like you said, his name alone, man. And before, I don't know what, it's perplexing, what I'm saying? We can question so many things, but like Canelo, his like you said, he's a born fighter. He just wants to fight. That's what he wants to do, man. He just wants to fight. And I know that, man. I see it. You can see it in him. You can see it in his body language. He just wants to fight. He wants to get in there and not talk much, and let's get it on. Let's go, fight. And I think he has stayed with Oscar so long. He has been with him for so long because he doesn't, I think this is what it is. I think because he doesn't want to deal with the business stuff. I don't think he's one of those business type guys, business brains, and I think he just stayed with Oscar for the comfort. The money's coming in. Oscar will do all the business stuff. He'll do all that complicated stuff. but there's a consequence to that because Oscar apparently, right? It looks like that, Oscar's doing some stuff, maybe some, shady stuff. This is like Zeno, like what Zeno's saying right here. The reason they are trying to control Canelo is because Oscar guaranteed DAZN all type of fights and is trying to push for the fights that he guaranteed them. But I think he said something else. Where is it? Here we go. Sorry. Oscar promised DAZN that Canelo would fight Triple G in 2020 and many other things. There you go. On paper without Canelo knowing. You see? Because Canelo trusted in Oscar to do all that paperwork, all that headache stuff. And Canelo doesn't want to deal with that. He just wants to fight, man. I want money. I want to fight. Give me my money. I'm going to keep fighting. Oscar de la Fish. Oh, you guys are good laughs. Fish nets does business like a, oh my gosh. Okay. But yeah, that's what I think is going on. I think that's a lot has to do with it that, the problem with Canelo is that he trusted in Oscar for all this time saying, you do all the business. I'm just going to fight. I'm just going to train and fight, train and fight, train. That's me. And that's how I think Canelo is, man. You think that's what it is, Kurtis? He he doesn't want to deal with the business stuff.
That's exactly what it is. Dealing with the business of boxing can be a headache, man, but you hit it right on the head. Let me fight who I want to fight or who deserves the fight and give me my money and then let me fight again. I mean, it's as simple as that. Let me go on to the next chapter in my boxing career. But Oscar being in the way is just throwing a monkey wrench in the whole program, man. And it makes Canelo look bad, like he's ducking. But I hear a lot of platforms and people say Canelo is scared of Charlo. That's not the case. Canelo ain't scared of anybody, seriously. Right. And we give props to Charlo, but he got a tough fight coming up. He got to get past Deverenchenko. That's not a walk in the park. Deverenchenko is an underdog, but he's what we call a live underdog. And Deverenchenko beat him, then we're going to be talking about Canelo versus Deverenchenko, instead of Charlo. A lot of people think Charlo can beat him. I'm not of that ilk, but, I just want to see the guy fight, because I like seeing Canelo fight. He's a terrific fighter. I just want him challenged. And I got advice for Oscar, just get the hell out the way, let the guy fight.
I think I have been guilty of it, and I don't care. I'm for me, it's not a big deal. I don't get embarrassed because it helps me grow. It helps me learn more. You know what I'm saying? When I get corrected, when I'm proven wrong, it's fine. I even admit it. I think I have been guilty of that, of saying, you know what, Canelo's scared of these guys. I don't think I've said it in my platform. I don't think I've said it in my channel. I don't think I've said it in videos or anything like that. I think I have through social media, Twitter, typing some things. I think I have. I just don't recall, but I think I have been guilty of saying that Canelo's scared. But now that I reflect on things, I even said it yesterday. This is one of the reasons why I want to talk about this, because I've seen through this lawsuit, it has opened up my eyes to a lot of things, and I've said it yesterday on the live when I talked about this issue on my own here on the platform. That's why I wanted, an OG like Kurtis Anderson, man, the historian, great guy, you know what I'm saying, to hear his input, because it's confirming what I thought, that Canelo's not scared of anybody. I've said it yesterday. He said it, Canelo said it. Not like I said, not like I believe everything that fighters say, but I do believe what he says on this. He's not scared of anybody. He just wants to fight. And, unfortunately nowadays, fighters practically almost have to be lawyers, man. Just to and just like Kurtis said, it's a headache. All that contract stuff, and just like I said moments ago, that maybe there are contracts out there that look like books, man. I mean, who the heck is going to read all that? You expect a fighter to have those kinds of brains, to read and understand all that legal terminology and jargon? I mean, a lot of fighters don't want to do that, man. They just want to get, I got my promoter, I got my manager. They're going to read all that. Where do I sign? You see what I'm saying? So to a certain extent, we can blame Canelo for staying with Oscar so long. But at the same time, it's like, we got to understand the fighters also, you know what I'm saying? Put ourselves in their shoes. Some fighters aren't really, book smart all the time, you know what I'm saying? As far as, because you practically almost got to be a lawyer, I repeat, or have a college degree, you know, from a university to understand all that jargon and legal stuff, man. It's, you know, I think that fighters go through a lot more than what we think, you know what I'm saying? As far as these things, the political aspect. I'm not talking about like the personal life stuff. I'm talking about like the political aspect of boxing. We don't, you know, I think they go through a lot of stress. They go through a lot of, you know, things that they think about. And, you know, I think that's just what it is, man. I mean, we got to understand that. That's what I'm trying to say here. We got to understand those things that Canelo goes through, you know, and all fighters, but Canelo in this case. So all fighters go through these things, and we can't put all the blame on Canelo. You know what I'm saying? So, Madman, I see you're new here. I haven't seen you before. Thank you so much, man. This is an open platform for everybody. We are one community. Go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and like. You're listening to a great right now, Kurtis Anderson, man. You're listening to a great, you know, wonderful guy. Knows a lot about the sport. You know what I'm saying? So, Madman, you're welcome here, bro. I mean, you know what I mean? Open platform, bro. Go ahead and check out the channel. And we're going to give another announcement later so you can listen more to Kurtis. He's on other platforms also. If Canelo leaves Golden Boy, I expect Virgil Ortiz and Ryan to get title shots. It can be, bro. But the thing here, you know what, Madman? I think that if Canelo leaves, all right, if Canelo leaves Golden Boy, I think Ryan and Virgil are going to follow the lead, man. Do you think so, Kurtis? Do you think that can be the case?
Well, I'll tell you what, right? Ryan Garcia looks at Canelo like a big brother. They have become increasingly close. You know, Canelo gives him advice on fighting, advice in business, you know, not to put up with any shenanigans like he's going through, you know, and I agree. I don't know about Virgil Ortiz, but I can see Garcia following Canelo footsteps if he leaves, because Ryan Garcia and De La Hoya is not exactly close either. You know, Oscar just has his hands on their careers too much, and all he has to do to keep them is move to the side and let them fight the best fights that's out there. Ryan Garcia has a lot of opponents. He could be a star if he keeps winning. He got Luke Campbell coming up. He could fight Tank. He could fight all those guys, man. You know, he has the frame to move up, you know, but when you have a successful career, everything you do has to be right. Like Mayweather did everything right. You know, when an athlete can get $300 million in 36 minutes, something he's done was right on. You know, when he was with Bob Arum wanted to keep Mayweather, so he offered him 8-fight, $26 million deal. And Mayweather said, that's a slave contract, you know, and he left because, see, people don't know that Bob Arum trying to get Mayweather beaten. So he was putting him in with tough fighters. Like, people don't know Carlos Hernandez was tough, and Floyd broke his hand on the side of his head, and they call it a knockdown because his gloves scraped the canvas. Or Jesus Chavez, he fought 2 Jesus Chavez. But the one when he had to fight in San Francisco, that was a tough fight. Victoriano Sosa, you know, Henry Brucelis, you know, when Floyd looked really good. Henry Brucelis was a close friend of Miguel Cotto, and they used to spar a lot, a fighter from Puerto Rico. Those fights early in his career, Gennaro Hernandez, who was 41-1, the only loss coming to Oscar De La Hoya, a lot of people thought Hernandez was going to beat Floyd, because I don't want to make it about Floyd, but I'm just saying how a fighter's career is supposed to go. So when you can, you know, make maximum money and be a star, that means he did something right. And Canelo don't need anybody to promote him. He could promote himself. Like I say, he has a built-in fan base. You know, he's very popular, man, and he doesn't need Oscar, man. But it's not easy to break away, you know, because I don't know what him and Oscar signed. I don't know the stipulations on the contract. A contract that has many stipulations and obstacles, man. It's like an obstacle course. You just don't know. Now, Oscar got him the $365 million deal, and that's a great deal. Hey, get the money. I'm for the fighter. Get all the money you can, you know. But then the other stuff, 11 fights, and you're not fighting who we thought you was going to fight, you know. And he has the opponent. He has Better Beef. He has Callum Smith. You know, he has the winner of Charlo and Derevchenko. He has Andrade, that's like 4 or 5 fighters. He could fight. Those are the fight we want to see. Even if he loses one, I'm still going to be a fan. It's not like he's going to go away. He just lost, and you can always redeem yourself. But people admire you when you fight top-notch opposition.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Amazing, man. I mean, let's get real quick to the comments, man. I just cut off just a little bit. I just jumped back in. Did you cut off, Kurtis? Everything was good?
Everything is good over here.
Perfect, man. Perfect. Little internet issue here. But yeah, so we have here Black Star. Let me get to the comments real quick. Hope Canelo gets out the deal so we can get the fights to fans. Exactly, man. That's what we want to see, man. And it's kind of like what Madman's saying here. Canelo, best option is PBC. I think so, man. I think so. Tone Bangers, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for tuning in, Tone Bangers. Thank you so much, man. Open community. Y'all know what it is here, man. We're a family right here. Thank you so much for the support, Black Star. Share the video. Definitely, man. Like, subscribe, comment. Thank you so much, man. Thanks for your support, man. What guys Dano saying here, I don't think Canelo is innocent, but he is getting a bit too much criticism, in my opinion. The Yildirim fight was it was a big joke, I think, in my personal opinion. I don't think anybody wants to see Yildirim. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to see that, of a joke to me. Hope he won't be held back too much because of the lawsuit. Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. Definitely, man. Definitely. Madman says here, I wonder how many subs DAZN lost during the pandemic. High? Who knows, man? I mean, word is out there that, they probably did lose a lot, right? But I really don't know, honestly. But yeah, man. So I just hope the best for Canelo, man. I hope the best that, for him in this whole situation and lawsuit, man. And I personally think it'd be better he just leave Oscar, man. He just got to leave him and get the big fights out there, man. Get the big fights and good fights that we want to see, man. And let's get real quick, man. Let's get Kurtis Anderson to the next point. I want to get to the next point here. I just want to cover 2 points mainly here. And this whole thing with, Devin Haney and Gary Russell, man. I mean, there's just a lot there. But, I mean, it's interesting how we saw it was on 78 Sports TV, right? And several platforms, several channels, tuning in on this, pretty much making this fight come about, come to close to fruition. You know what I'm saying? And it gives us an idea of how negotiations go about. Batman and Bill Haney were going back and forth. Batman wanted to have the fight on pay-per-view. Devin Haney's like, no, on DAZN, and that there shouldn't be any stipulations. The only stipulation that's going to be there is the rematch clause. And I think I just saw a recent video, and supposedly the contract was supposed to be sent by Friday or something like that, right? Which is tomorrow. And if I'm not mistaken, the recent video came out by Gary Russell, man, saying that, with him on the camera there, saying that there's a stipulation. And Gary Russell and their team was like, you know what? We don't want any stipulations. The only stipulation that should be there is the rematch clause. But apparently it looks like, another stipulation is there in the contract that Gary Russell doesn't approve of. So, that's just an idea, which connects to a little bit to what we were talking about with Canelo. That's just an idea of the stress and all the, details that go along with negotiating just to fight, man, just to have a fight, just to do, just to put out there what we want to see as fans. You know what I'm saying? And Gary Russell and Devin Haney are going back and forth about it. But if they fight, all right, let's just get to that. If they fight, all right, what do you see Kurtis Anderson with these two fighters? How do you think that fight would play out?
Well, Devin Haney's long and he's athletic, but I see many flaws in Devin Haney. He's still green. Sometimes he acts like he's scared to get hit. He jumps around. He has a lot of wasted movement. His footwork is quick, but it's not educated. He still has a ways to go. Gary Russell is experienced. He has an explosive short right hook. I think that punch will work well for him against a Haney. But he has to close the distance. Haney's going to be moving. Haney throws long, wide punches sometimes that I don't like. My take is he's not as good as advertised because he's still growing. He's not there yet, and people think he's the heir apparent next Mayweather. He's nowhere near Floyd Mayweather. So if I was to fight Haney or Russell, I would get him now. I would sign that contract, and I will get him in the ring now. Now, I don't know how his career is going to be, but I've seen a couple of fights that, he left himself open as he was coming in. He has to tweak some things, because fighting Russell, that's very dangerous. Russell is a comfortable fighter in the ring. Haney is still learning. He's still green. People think he's the next one, that guy. I don't see that, though. I see a guy that's right for the pickings because he still has a lot to learn. I look at things from an objective point of view.
Right.
A lot of people, they get emotionally tied up in fighters and
Yeah.
thinking they this and that, and I don't see that. Even if a guy that I really like, I would criticize him as well because I go by what I see. That's it. That's the only thing I can do. And I don't know. I give Russell the edge. There's a lot of unanswered questions about Teofimo Lopez and Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, all the young guns, even Shakur Stevenson. But I like Shakur not because he's from my hometown, but when you step up and fight great, good fighters, I should say, boxing is a truth serum, and we'll find out a lot about these young guys in the next year and the year and a half because we're going to find out how good Teal is against an established fighter like Lomachenko. We're going to find out how good Tank is against a guy like Leo Santa Cruz, and and if they fight, Haney and Russell is not official. But I don't want them to be babbling all week, Rene, and then the contract is signed. I don't like this in the contract. Somebody is going to buckle, and now the fight is off. So all that babbling for no reason goes for nothing. Just sign the contract, give it to your lawyer, make sure you get your money, and let's fight.
I definitely agree. I think there's just a little bit too much babbling going back and forth. And it's just too much, man. I don't know. I think one of the things is that, Gary Russell, man, I mean, he's getting up there in age. He's not that active. And I think he just wants to get fights desperately. Do you think there's a desperate situation here with Gary? Do you think he's feeling desperate, Curtis?
Yeah, because he only fight once a year, his mandatories. He's fighting people like Patrick Hyland and Escadone, and we want to see him in, once again with good fighters, with good opposition. I don't know how true these guys are because they talk a good game. Social media has become a big part of life. You have platforms, but I think the LDBC for promoting the fight, that's a great thing when you can have a boxing community that's on the internet and that can control the narrative and can get two people to fight that's top quality opposition. That's a great thing. The YouTube now or the promotional companies, they're the streets, they're everything. YouTube is a big part of everybody's lives, even my own.
Definitely, man. I mean, that's the advantage, I guess we can say to a certain extent that social media has. I say to a certain extent because at the same time, we hear just too much ranting and raving. Okay, just a quick example. Did you see that, Curtis? Who was that guy yesterday who was on Terrence Bud Crawford's Instagram? Did you hear about that? Did you see that?
I heard about it. I got busy last night, but I don't know what he was saying. But Carla Jenkins, I believe, was on two shows at one time. She was on his IG, and there was ranting and raving. It's just too much talking going on.
That's what I'm saying.
I come from an era, man, where fighters used to sign contracts in the ring, and
wow.
I'm just not used to all the babbling, man, because I don't know at the end of the day, I don't know if the fight's going to be made. I was happy about Teal Lomachenko because they officially signed a contract. So the fight is done. And I commend Lopez and Lomachenko getting it done. That's a fight we want to see. So if Russell and Haney doesn't fight, I'm going to look at them both funny because all that talking and you didn't get the job done. sign the contracts, set a date. I heard it's set for December 26th, but it's not official.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in, man. D Hodges is jumping up in here. Underrated Darkness, man. I thank you guys so much, man. It's all love to you guys, as I always say. Love to have you guys here. Kurtis, do you think that it's just like you said, people used back in the day, even sign contracts in the ring? Wow. Do you? I've seen it. It looks like it's diminishing now when, there are two fighters that fight and a possible opponent of the winner, what have you, is watching ringside or what have you, watching in the audience, and then they come up in the ring. It looks like that's diminishing. Remember, Pacquiao did it to Spence, even though it looked like Pacquiao didn't want to maybe fight Spence or something with his body language or whatever, right? Or maybe just because he's a humble guy, Pacquiao. We've seen it before where fighters would jump in the ring. Porter did it, if I'm not mistaken, to Danny Garcia, if I'm not mistaken. You've seen it a lot. So do you think that the social media and all this, too much blabbing, has a lot to do with fighters not really doing that anymore? Because I've seen it's been diminishing. Or is it just me that fighters go in the ring after fight to confront the person they want to fight?
Yeah, it is diminishing. Triple G did it to Canelo, and I loved it. Canelo's like, Golovkin, you're next, my friend. I love that. That's the way it's supposed to be. Or Mosley jumping in the ring with Mayweather, and it happened a few times, or they used to go to the press conferences. Ali used to go to the training camps. That's when you promote the fight as well. Ali used to, he went to Floyd Patterson's training camp. He had some letters and a carrot, and he used to give fighters names, like he called Floyd Patterson the Rabbit. Or and he did this too. He used to go to Sonny Liston's home, middle of the night, 2 or 3 in the morning, and yell for Sonny Liston to come outside, on the lawn and the front lawn, and they call the cops, and Ali just walk away. That's how you promote a fight. That was the motto. Or in the 80s, when you had regional titles like the NABF or the USBA, when a fighter would capture one of those regional titles, they was getting a title shot automatically. It wasn't no blabbing. It wasn't no, let's see, you got to fight this guy. They was getting the title shot. That was the motto. And then you saw in the 90s, you saw fighters jump in the ring, Golovkin with Canelo, Mosley with Mayweather, and press conferences. Like Aaron Pryor tried to get a fight with Sugar Ray Leonard. He bombarded his press conference. Antonio Tarver dogging Roy Jones. Those were the fights. You know what? Even though it's a fictional movie, it's fictional characters.
Yeah.
Remember when Clubber Lang was dogging Rocky? And
exactly. I was going to mention that.
That's why I love the movie, because they got that from what fighters used to do. The number one contender would go to wherever the champion was and dog him. And Tim Witherspoon did it to Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes got Tim Witherspoon family kicked out of a certain hotel because they were staying on the same floor. They hated each other. And that's the motto. Now you have social media. Now, social media can be a plus, but it's just a lot of jawing and what we call selling wolf tickets. And, when you talk too much. And, if the fight is made, then that's fine. But if you talk, and if the Haney and Russell fight don't get made, then it's all for nothing. It's just babble.
That's what I'm saying. That, it looks good, as far as with Devin and Haney. I'm sorry, Devin and got the names mixed up here, and Gary. It looks good. It looked good at the beginning, but then I was like, you know what?
I think Rene might have went out, but I'm gonna carry on. It's a very interesting fight with Haney and Russell. It's hard for me to predict, but I do give Russell the edge because of experience. He's the longest reigning champ. Like I said, Haney makes mistakes, and Russell hasn't been in with anybody good. I mean, Johnny Gonzalez was kind of past it. King Tut, was a tough fighter, but Russell got through him. Jojo Diaz was a tough fighter, but Jojo Diaz was successful by going to Russell's body, but he didn't have the IQ, the boxing IQ to keep it up, and Russell won a decision, so, I want this fight to get made because I want to see where the young fighters stand. I can't wait for Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko. I think that's a very interesting fight, man. I think Teofimo is a live dog. You do have some good fights coming up. I like the Charlo card with Devenchenko and Charlo, or Rosario and Charlo's going to be a tough fight, but I think Charlo's going to knock him out. Rosario reminds me so much of Murky Sosa. He does. You got 5 title fights on that day. Oh, you back? Okay,
I'm there. Yeah.
Okay,
just cut off a little bit.
Okay, I was just going over because we do have some tough fights coming up. I was telling the chat that the Charlo card is good, 2 quality fights. You got a card with Estrada that's coming, Chocolatito and Martinez on a triple header on the zone. You got Teofimo Lomachenko, that's good. You got the Boyce and Joyce. See, those are quality fights. I don't have a problem with that. You got Garcia and Spence. So we do have a plethora of good fights coming in the sport of boxing.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Thanks so much, Curtis, for taking over, man. Thanks so much. And what I was saying earlier about, with this whole thing when it cut off with Gary and, Gary and Haney. And like you said, Curtis, I mean, it would be a big disappointment. I mean, at the beginning, it looked nice, but now it's like, okay, you got to sign and just be no more talking, put it to action now. It would be a big disappointment. And I think Gary Russell and Haney both will be discredited a lot, man. Will look bad if this fight doesn't go down, man. Do you think so, Kurt?
Yeah, I'm gonna look at them funny style, as we say, because there's no reason why they should fight. It's a quality fight, the same division, 2 hot names. One guy's up and coming, another guy been there for a minute, the longest reigning champion, and it's no reason. It should be a round robin. Ryan Garcia should be in the mix. Tank Davis, no matter what happens, you fight on. Tank Davis and Russell could fight in the DC and Baltimore area. That'd be a huge fight because those 2 established names in the DC and Baltimore area, Ryan Garcia, like I said, should be in the mix. So, all of them should be thrown in the pot, stared up, and whoever name you come up with, that's who they should fight.
Curtis, I am just to conclude here. I am, I just wanted to hit it up for an hour. I think I'm optimistic. Like you just said, you're explaining right now the cards. It looks like we're going to have a good end of the year, last quarter of fights for 2020. Even though 2020 has been, as many have said, as we have seen it, a horrible year. We just had a recent fighter pass away, Danny Gonzalez. I thank you guys who were, giving me a happy birthday. D Hodges, thank you. I just clarified earlier that, I think I messed up on the date there in Facebook, and it's August 28th, but I really thank you. It just passed. So August 28th, I really appreciate you, man. I love you guys, man. Thank you guys so much. All you guys, Chen Smoke jumping up in the building. Thank you so much, man. Saludos, amigo. ¿Cómo estás, amigo? Todo bien aquí en Mexico, man. We're good down here. And, just like Curtis was saying, like you were saying, Kurt, that I think I'm optimistic because we're seeing a great turnout at the end of the year, even though we're in the midst of all this crazy stuff this year. It looks like we're going to have some good fights. And I think this is why I think that promoters are starting to listen a lot more to the platforms that we're talking about, to real boxing fans and the voice that's being, raised, on behalf of fans, and what we want to see. I think they're really starting to listen now and starting to put the fights that we want to see out there. Because look at the cards, man, that you were just saying right now. Look at the fights we have for the rest of the year. It looks awesome. So, Curtis, the reason why I say all this is because do you think that 2021 is going to be a year of great fights and great matchups?
If boxing can get out of its own way, we can have a great 2021. The fights are there. The fighters are there. Same divisions. Barshelt versus Shakur can be made. We can have some great fights. But boxing always trip over itself with 2 left feet. If boxing can stay out of its own way, we can have a tremendous 2021 because the fights are materializing. We could have Fury and Joshua in 21, but it's all up to boxing. But it's never easy in boxing. It's always unpredictable. We'll get a fight that we didn't see coming. We'll get a fight that's expected to be made, but not. So it all depends on the sport itself, man. If the sport can be a friend to itself, then we could have a tremendous 2021.
Definitely, man. Definitely. My hopes are high. My hopes are really high, man. Jay Cooley, thanks so much. I don't think I shot you out, man. Thanks so much for tuning in, man. We're family up in here, man. Definitely, man. Thanks so much. Yeah, so I'm optimistic, man. And I'm really, really optimistic for 2021. I think we're going to have great fights. I think so, man. I think promoters, why? Because they're seeing that if they're not pushing the great fights out there, they're going to just lose money. And that's what they need right now. They're in need of money, man. So, I mean, if they push the good fights out there, the money will follow. Great fights out there, the money will follow. And just before we finish, man, Kurtis, what do you think? When do you think? Because I see it happening in 2022. And now that we're at the topic of these fights and stuff and great fights happening, I see Spence versus Bud happening at least until 2022. Do you think I'm real outlandish in that?
I hope it can happen in 2021 because one of them will lose, just like Hurd and Charlo was a hot fight, and Hurd lost. Charlo lost as well. Joshua and Wilder could have made so much money. Both has lost. And I believe got knocked out in the same round. How spooky is that? Who else? There's another person that's lost. I can't think of it, but I want it to happen in 2021 because somebody will lose. Spence, we don't know how he's going to look after the car accident. People dogging Bud. I don't like how Crawford moves either. The ring.
Exactly.
But this is not the first time you have a premier fighter that moved like that. Sugar Ray Robinson, was the same way. He was tough. He did what he wanted to do. And that's how Bud feels. Bud is a stubborn guy. He's an alpha dog. He feels he can fight who he want to fight when he want to fight him. But we quick to say these fighters is ducking that fighter because it sounds hot, it's clickbait. But these fighters got heart, man. Very rarely you'll see a duck. A duck was when Aaron Pryor wanted to fight Ray Boom Boom Mancini or Barry McGuigan, duck Azuma Nelson. That was a plain duck. But it's business. It's how the fighter feels. I don't get close to fighters. Well, I grew up with Rocky Lockridge and Johnny Bump City Bumpers and the Toledo brothers who fought, in Patterson. I was real close with them, but your fighters are different. They're moody. They can be snappy. One day they can sign autographs, and the next day they tell you get out their face. So you got to stay away from fighters, man, because it's a stressful, lonely occupation, man. You got to train 8 to 10 weeks, sometimes 12. You be moody, they go through mood swings, and we got so I don't, when I tell people you don't know a fighter their life, then that's what I mean. But that's just boxing. Boxing is a great sport, but you got to understand what a fighter go through, man. So I'm optimistic like you. 2021 is never easy, but I see the glass of water half full instead of half empty.
Definitely, man. Me too. I'm in the same shoes, man. As far as that, your perspective, I'm definitely, optimistic about 2021. And let's keep our fingers crossed, man. And let's enjoy what we got this year. You know what I'm saying? Let's enjoy what we got this year, man. So, I got to get going, man. Kurtis Anderson, can you just wait just 1 minute after I close?
No problem.
Awesome. I thank you guys so much for tuning in, man. I love you guys, man. It's so fun seeing you guys in the chat, man. So many things you guys are saying, so many, so much interesting insight. Real quick, Black Star says equally big fight for both fighters. Longest reigning champ versus, talking about Lomachenko, I think, right? I think, or no, both avoided. They need this to keep others from ducking them both. Or I think you're talking about.
You talk about Russell.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was gonna say that. Yeah, Russell, longest reigning champ, exactly. And Haney, yep, yes, definitely, man. Sounds good selling that, Black Star, but it's a mismatch in reality. Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see how it goes down. If it goes down, right? I mean, we're gonna keep our fingers crossed on that. But like I said, if this fight doesn't go down with Haney and Russell, they're both going to look bad. I think, man, it's going to look bad, man. I mean, it is what it is, but I respect them fighters definitely, man. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, man. I love you guys. Thank you so much. And I'm going to, talk to Kurtis a little bit about something that I want to present to each and every one of you guys. So, I mean, stay tuned. Definitely stay tuned. Boxing Then and Now series part 8 will be up soon. Okay, I don't think this Saturday. I've been quite busy, but keep a lookout, definitely, man. We're going to keep pushing this stuff, keep pushing this content. Love the community, man. Thank you guys so much. And remember, stay safe out there, please, man. When I say it, I mean it. You know what I'm saying? Stay safe, each and every one of you, with your family, your kids, you know what I'm saying? Take care of yourselves, man. Definitely. We're living in crazy times, man. And, let's keep our fingers crossed for the hope of boxing, you know what I'm saying? For the better of the sport. And remember, we apply these things in our lives. Keep fighting in life, man. Keep your head up, man. Keep fighting, for the best things, in life, man. Thank you guys so much. Peace out. Hey, Kurtis, real quick. Sorry. Kurtis, where can they find you later tonight? Also,
yes, I was supposed to be joining Blue Blood again today. Starts today at 3 o'clock, 3:15 on Blue Blood Sports TV. I'm the co-host of the show, and tonight, I have my other show going through Stormy B-Man's channel called The Three Wise Men of Boxing. Tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tonight, subject is called The Mayweather Chronicles. It's a little different take that I came up with. So stay tuned for that tonight. Join us for The Three Wise Men of Boxing and Blue Blood Sports TV. I'm like a hired gun. Where the boxing go, I go. That's how much I love the sport. Rene Boxing, you're doing great things, man. I love the channel, man. And thank you, chat, for your time this morning, man. And stay safe and peace.
Heck yeah, man. Thank you guys so much. Peace out, family.